Cambridge. Welcome to What's That About, where we answer all your questions about the pressing issues of the day, brought to you by CCTV. We show you stuff. All kinds of stuff. You know, stuff.
Okay, well, let's get to our first question. Sabrina from Cherry Street writes, you guys have been hitting a couple of issues pretty hard over the past year. Now that it's a new year with new elected officials, what's the latest on transparency at the state level and inclusionary zoning locally?
You know what I feel coming on?
What, Max?
It's time for another one of my favorite segments, the Winter Lightning Round. Pew, 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 pew.
We've never done a winter lightning round.
Sure we have, Julie. Almost every winter. Issue 1, Multifamily Zoning in Cambridge.
Sure. Well, as we said last month, for the first time in decades, the Cambridge City Council was about to vote on a plan to update its real estate zoning laws.
That's right. In the past, Cambridge's zoning only allowed single and two-family housing west of Harvard and triple-deckers east of Harvard. It's a legacy of redlining that was kept in place by years of NIMBY-led inertia.
Councillors Burhan Azim and Sumbul Siddiqui, with the support of others on the council like friend of the show Mark McGovern, led the effort to update zoning citywide to 6 stories as of right. But after months of negotiations, the final bill included 4-story buildings by right, with 6 stories allowed for buildings that included 20% affordable housing.
Well, don't leave us hanging, Julie. What happened?
On Monday, February 10th, the Cambridge City Council voted to approve multifamily zoning 8-1.
Woohoo!
Along with its recent elimination of parking minimums and approval of auxiliary dwelling units and planned upzoning of squares and corridors, Cambridge can now claim to be one of the most progressive cities with regards to building new housing in the country.
Good news, Julie. And now that the state Supreme Court has ruled the state can enforce its MBTA Communities Act, we might actually be getting to a place where housing prices in the state starts to cool down a little bit. Which brings us to lightning round issue 2, Milton.
Remind our viewers why we keep covering the tiny South Shore suburb of Milton, Max.
Well, Julie, Milton tried to sink the first statewide effort to build more housing in decades when it sued to overturn the state's MBTA Communities Act, which is intended to get towns to build more housing via upzoning areas adjacent to public transit.
Yep, but instead of just approving compliant zoning changes already approved by the Select Board, Milton opted to hold a special referendum, which resulted in the town rejecting the upzoning and eventually ousting a pro-zoning board member.
Right, and the town decided to sue the state instead, spending almost $300,000 between legal fees and the election. But Milton lost in court. It's all over. Why are we still talking about this?
Well, after the ruling, Milton had a new deadline to submit a compliant zoning plan by February 13th, and...
Well, let me guess, they didn't do it.
That's right. The Milton Select Board, by a vote of 3-2, decided against submitting a compliant zoning plan. Instead, they petitioned the state to remove the town's classification as a rapid transit community. As board chair Richard Wells said, "We live in a democratic society. Anything can change on any given day."
That's clown behavior, bro. Why is the board chair quoting the Joker instead of complying with the law?
Indeed, as board member Benjamin Zoll, who voted in favor of submitting a plan, said, "We lost the case. The law is legal and enforceable. Pretending that a loss is a victory, continuing to disobey the law, refusing to discuss our plans in public, this is not what democracy looks like."
Oh, Milton, how you disappoint me. Which brings me to Winter Lightning Round issue number 3, transparency on Beacon Hill. Pew, 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 pew.
What's new on Beacon Hill, Max? Isn't it still an opaque, corrupt...
Let me say it. Beacon Hill is an opaque, corrupt hellhole where almost nothing ever gets accomplished. But? We've been saying the same thing ever since this show started back in 1986. But lately, Beacon Hill actually seems to be opening up a little bit.
They are?
That's right, Julie. After a session where our legislature seemed to be unable to accomplish anything in their giant end-of-year omnibus bill during regular sessions, public dissatisfaction started coming to a boil.
You mean because of the incredible amount of popular support for ballot question 1, authorizing an audit of the state legislature by 72 to 28%?
Yeah, that and other little signs, like the fact that our own representative, Marjorie Decker, viewed as a loyal member of Speaker Ron Mariano's leadership team, only won her primary by 43 piddling votes against a transparency advocate. I mean, whatever it is, something has put a transparency charge up Beacon Hill's collective butts.
Ooh. Well, as we said before, good government groups like Act on Mass have long advocated for making all committee votes and testimony publicly accessible on the web, and for other transparency issues like publishing bill summaries before they are voted on, and calling for advance notice of hearings so the public can understand and follow the legislature's work. And some of it seems to be getting through.
Yeah, as a new Cambridge focus group, the Cambridge Committee for Transparency and Accountability found, Representative Decker now supports changing the rules to make all House and Joint Committee votes public. And a few weeks later, Speaker Ron Mariano's rules proposal calls for doing just that, among a few other transparency improvements to be voted on next week.
But it's too soon to celebrate because both the House and Senate have to agree on joint committee rules, and there are a number of other transparency measures that Beacon Hill is not currently taking. So keep an eye out on what's that about, and we'll keep you up to date on the maybe not as opaque hellhole of Beacon Hill.
And this has been another great Winter Lightning Round episode. Julie, I think this is my favorite one yet. I mean, 2 positive stories and 1 not so positive in this, the darkest timeline. It's not so bad.
Well, I know it was my favorite one because it's the only one we've ever done.
I don't know what you're talking about, Julie. We always do Winter Lightning Rounds. We have always done Winter Lightning Rounds. So until next week.
We'll see you first.